Hey y'all, there I am. Hi. 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 There's my mouth. Anyway, there's this there's this site called Unseen Horrors, this YouTube channel that I recommend to everybody. I just discovered it recently. And what it consists of is a bunch of detailed accounts of uh, ostensible encounters with celebrities, engaging in secret rituals or other kinds of disconcerting things, um, and it seems to be not necessarily based on testimony, but it's more or less what could be happening, what could well be happening amongst those who have sold their souls to the entertainment industry, and every tale is well told, and it's worth spending some time on. Every tale is, I think, literarily worthwhile, and also seems to have rings with I would say it rings with verisimilitude, even if it's not a true story per se. It seems to be in almost every case, based on true stories of what celebrities are up to and the kind of things that are going on behind the scenes, and what we don't really know about, but which is strongly hinted at based on the glimpses that we've been given of the darkness of celebrity culture and fame. So, Unseen Horrors, check it out. See what you think. I think it's one of the more original and interesting YouTube channels that I've come across in a while. The reason I'm mentioning Unseen Horrors is because I recently saw a video which involved Vanilla Ice. Now, those of us here who are old enough to remember Vanilla Ice when he was actually out there on the scene in, I think it was 1990 or 1991, when he had a gigantic hit, Ice Ice Baby, and was extremely popular. Like, that song was everywhere. Everyone was listening to it. It raced up the charts. He was this new star, this white rapper guy. And almost immediately afterwards, it was like the industry turned on him, and everybody turned on him. And for a few months, people liked him and bought his records and made him rich and famous. Suddenly, it reached this point where the new thing was to shit on Vanilla Ice, and to make fun of him for looking stupid, for dancing stupid, for having a stupid song, all this kind of stuff. And I remember thinking at the time, now people, other fellow old heads who were also pop culture aware, I'd be interested in hearing from y'all about this. I remember thinking at the time, this isn't right. I don't like what they're doing to this guy. It's like they're suddenly, I wasn't. It's not that I was a fan of his. It's not that I thought his song was great or anything like that. But I didn't think it was like 100 times worse than. I didn't think it was any worse, any better, or any worse than a lot of what was on the radio in 1991. but for some reason, Vanilla Ice became the scapegoat for everything. Uh, and and so there's an Unseen Horrors video which claims to go into detail about what really happened behind the scenes with Vanilla Ice, and I'll try to remember to post it post a link to it in the description so you can watch it for yourself. But what I do remember is there was an interview that Vanilla Ice gave on the Arsenio Hall show. And Arsenio Hall, talk about sucking. I mean, he was crap. He was terrible. As far as a late night talk show host, it was like he was mostly just he was a terrible interviewer. He just kissed everybody's ass. He threw a bunch of softball questions. There was no momentum to his interviews. It was just like he would have somebody, the guest in front of him, and he would ask a question that would go nowhere, and then Arsenio would just say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and there'd just be an awkward moment. But most of the time, Arsenio was just like, not just I don't know, just a puff interview. Nothing of substance. Just kiss their ass, and it wasn't amusing about it. I was not a fan. Of course, he was black, so there was the whole thing of selling the black guy as as a late night talk show host, which was, I guess, pretty new at the time. So he had that novelty going for him. But then he had Vanilla Ice on, and suddenly he became just vicious. Like his idea was to take Vanilla Ice down a notch. And I remembered hearing about this interview. I never actually saw it until today. I actually went back and watched the interview after watching the Unseen Horrors video, because I was curious, because they mentioned that interview, and what I didn't know, a word that was not in a term that was not in any of our vocabulary in 1991 was a humiliation ritual. We just didn't think in those terms, We didn't see. We were much more naive about the entertainment industry. We were much more naive about politicians. We were much more ready to believe what they tell us on the news. We were much more trusting, generally speaking, all in all, than we are today. But it seems pretty clear to me now that this was that Vanilla Ice's interview on Arsenio was meant to be a humiliation ritual. It was meant to be a kind of ambush, where this guy would go on thinking he's just gonna have a friendly conversation with this usually overly friendly host, Arsenio Hall, and instead Arsenio just goes for the jugular and tries to embarrass him, and essentially tries to say that he's just a phony, and that he all kinds of things, and when I went back and watched the interview, I was surprised at how well Vanilla Ice really took it. He did a pretty good job standing up for himself. And if you're interested, I invite you to watch that video as well. What also surprised me is the comments that I saw under the video were almost 100% anti-Arsenio. and pro Vanilla Ice, which that's a wild turnaround. That's a wild turnaround from what the sentiment generally seemed to be in 1991. Of course, in 1991, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media, so it was just sort of, I guess it was easier to just get the word out there. Oh, Vanilla Ice really got his shit kicked in by Arsenio Hall, and he totally embarrassed him and made him look like the fraud and the idiot that he is, and what a piece of shit Vanilla Ice is, and what a fraud, whatever. They were going on and on about it, and I think, people bought it. People, and as I said, it was part of this whole campaign of, let's pump this guy up, and now let's totally take the air out of his tires, and leave him for dead, and beat him up and leave him for dead. And it wasn't long after that, the alleged incident with Suge Knight, where he was, I can't remember what the ostensible reason was. Somebody out there will probably be able to tell me. Suge Knight, who was this this thug working for one of the rap labels, he held Vanilla Ice over the balcony, threatening him, asking him to do something. Now in the Unseen Horrors video, what they're asking him to do, what Madonna and Arsenio, what Madonna and Arsenio and P. Diddy, who at the time was, who is he, just Sean Puffy Combs or Puff Daddy? I don't remember what his nom de plume was at that time, but they were all appearing, in various times in various places. Clive Davis, of the recording industry, they would appear. The idea was they were trying to get Vanilla Ice to sell his soul, and he kept refusing. And so that was, what was really going on this whole time. And so that was why, because Ice wasn't playing by their rules, because he was not wanting to enter into this contract whereby he would essentially sell his soul, that was why the music industry turned on him. That was why Arsenio was so hostile towards him. And that was why Suge Knight shook him up and held him over the balcony on some, on the top story of some Miami apartment complex. That was the through line through it all. And but he just kept saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sell my soul. And so eventually, they just had to let him go. And he went off and rocketed into obscurity. But it's interesting, there has been, even without this video, without the Vanilla Ice video, there has been, without the Vanilla Ice video that I just saw on Unseen Horrors, there has been what could be called Vanilla Ice revisionism, whereby people, again, I saw I watched all the comments under the Arsenio clip on YouTube, and everybody was talking about what a jackass Arsenio was being, and how mean he was being, and how it was totally uncalled for, and how Ice basically held his ground. And so it's sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a while for the truth to come out. But at some point it's going to happen. At some point, maybe, what the hell is it? Over 30 years later, 35 years later, we're finally seeing what happened at the time for what it really was, or maybe some of us are. A lot of us are. Whereas at the time, we were limited by, the networks that were run by the studios that controlled everything, and so they could manage people's opinions much more easily, and there was, more trust, more overall trust, as I said, from the general public towards the media, and the things that they would try to communicate to us. Whereas today, that's definitely not the case anymore. So those are my thoughts. Anybody else remember the Vanilla Ice saga? I mean, anybody else, any other old heads who were actually there, remember what happened with him? By the way, I'm not endorsing him. I'm not saying his music was great. I just don't think he deserved the kind of abuse that he got. So, what do y'all think?